How's it going, guys? Welcome to a new-ish show. You hopefully recognize us. I'm Vish. DJ joining me from the Six Rings Cane show. DJ, how's your Sunday morning treating you?
Good. I watched tons of college football yesterday, and now I'm ready for week 1 of the NFL season. So we got a busy Sunday again, busy time of year, and a lot of points scored over the weekend by many college football teams, including the Miami Hurricanes.
Yep, and my NFL team managed to lose already, so we will steer clear of that. Thursday was not a great night for the Cowboys, but looked okay. Long season. Yeah, so welcome to our new-ish show. This is like a segment off of Six Rings where DJ and I are going to break down. Join us the day after, usually Sunday morning. So we break down the previous night's or previous day's game. Obviously, yesterday was Bethune-Cookman. Before we get into that, we do have our sponsor, 305-800-PAIN. After an accident, every minute counts. With one call to 305-800-PAIN, you get immediate access to trusted doctors and attorneys who guide you step by step. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, they're a brand you can trust. Much like 5 Reason Canes, 305-800-PAIN is focused on the local community of Miami-Dade County in South Florida. They'll handle all your accident needs, including car accident, personal injuries, and related legal matters. So after an accident, be sure to call 305-800-PAIN. The number is the brand, 305-800-PAIN. Después de un accidente, cada minuto cuenta. Con una llamada a 305-800-PAIN, ustedes pueden obtener acceso inmediatamente a doctores y abogados para ayudar con todo el proceso. Con una clasificación de A+ del Better Business Bureau, pueden confiar en ellos. 305-800-PAIN tiene mucho en común con el 5 Razones Canes. Están enfocados en la comunidad local de Miami-Dade County y el Florida del Sur. Ellos pueden ayudar con todo después de un accidente, incluyendo accidentes de carro, lesiones personales y otras cosas legales relacionadas. Entonces, después de un accidente, llamo 305-800-PAIN. El número es el nombre de la marca. 305-800-PAIN. All right, DJ. I guess first let's just open. What were your thoughts on the performance yesterday?
They took care of business. They took care of business and reaffirmed kind of what we saw in the opener against Notre Dame. Malachi Tony is that dude. Carson Beck, he had another great game, efficient, 22 of 24 for 2 touchdowns. I mean, and I know I have been very vocal about my dislike for Carson Beck, but I do think that with this group of wide receivers, he is the perfect quarterback in the sense that he can kind of direct the offense in a way where it makes life easier for everybody, right? And, Tony is a perfect example of that. You can see that those two have a connection, and, it's not something where it's, it's just, Bethune-Cookman and this and that, and we'll see what they do against, bigger competition. They did it against Notre Dame too. So if anything, this game just reaffirmed that Malachi Tony is a baller, as the kids say. And I'm very excited to see what he can do the rest of the way.
Yeah, and I'll defend you a little bit. I think I think you're now saying like you're a little bit harsher than what you actually said about Carson Beck. It was more just you didn't think he was like, the savior of the program, and I think that's fair. Because I think what we're seeing right now, and to your point, with all, and we'll get into a lot of individual performances that were stellar, and we could have an hour-long discussion just on
Yeah.
CJ Daniels' catch radius, but
Yeah.
which is apparently
Yeah.
anything.
The moon. Yeah.
but I think the point you were making was if you're going to expect Carson Beck to come in here and be Cam Ward or
Yeah.
something, that's not him. And I think a
Mm.
lot of our fans were expecting that, but the team is so much better, and that's how you win actually at the level the Canes want to win at. It's with the team performance. It's never going to be one guy. It's football. It's not basketball. Where one guy can win a game by himself. Like you need a team, and I think to your point, I think Carson Beck is the right guy to basically the captain for the ship. But he can't row the ship and captain it, because no one
Right.
you're not going to win doing that. There are like again, Cam Ward, best player in the country last year, number
Yeah.
one overall pick, did everything for this team, and it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so I think, this team is much, much more balanced. I guess let's get into it a little bit. So I think one thing to kind of set some context here is Bethune-Cookman, I think, came in with a plan to milk the clock.
Yeah.
They sat on the ball every time before they snapped it. They would run it down to 1 or 2 seconds on the play clock. And actually on the next tab, I think if I hit team stats here, we'll be able to see the time of possession was in their favor, despite the Canes dominating yardage, which is rare. Usually, if you dominate yardage, you also dominate time possession. But they just sat on the ball, and so there was that. And then I guess let's start with the third play of the game where Wes Besaid makes targeting and gets thrown out. What did you think of that call in that play?
I have a very negative opinion of targeting. I was going to tell you my real opinion, but I don't want us to get demonetized. I hate the targeting call. I understand it's for players' safety, but it's such a gray area, and it's football. You can't hit a player here, and this, that, and the other thing. Well, when you're running, figuratively 1,000 miles an hour trying to make a tackle, you're not thinking about that. I can almost guarantee that players don't want to injure another player, but these targeting penalties are crazy.
Yeah, especially in that instance. I mean, it was a bang play. He was trying to
Yeah.
keep him from getting to the first down, so he had to
Yeah.
kind of power through the tackle. Yeah, I got to look at some statistics and how often targeting is called and all. I don't think it's called that much. This game was one where they called it twice. They called it on Bethune in the second half. Yeah, I don't know where the refs were from either, which, I mean, they weren't familiar to me, which means that they were probably not ACC refs. They might have just been, an independent crew of refs, which they do for those that aren't familiar.
Yeah.
Conferences have their own refs, and then, for some games they have to hire in crews. So maybe they weren't as familiar. I'm not sure, though. If they were from the ACC, they were obviously not the A team when you have Bethune as the opponent. So, maybe a little bit of lack of kind of, because I have noticed officials are being a little bit more lenient with when they throw kids out. It's got to be like pretty obvious last year, where before that it was, like you said, it would be like incidental contact and they throw everyone out of the game. It's like, what is this? So they have kind of modulated a little bit. I think players have gotten a little bit used to it, but I would say both of the ones from yesterday were a little bit borderline. That at least last year I felt like we're not being called. I mean, we saw the Texas-Arizona State game in the playoffs where it looked like a clear targeting, and they said, no, we're going to, give the tackler the benefit of the doubt. So I think it's gotten a little better, but it's like a risk that kind of hangs over everything when you're trying to like play defense.
Right, and it's kind of like we still don't know what a catch is either, right? I mean, one week it's one thing, another thing, another week it's another instance, and you have to have this many feet in, especially at the NFL level, possession and all this stuff. So it's one of those rules that seems like it kind of varies week to week.
Yep. So Wes played a grand total of 3 plays, made 2 tackles, and got ejected. And then so that was his day. The Canes eventually got the ball. Obviously, Carson Beck completed his first 15 passes, started 15-15. That is a school record, one better than Vinny Testaverde in 1986, who started 14 for 14 in one game. So, and went on to win the Heisman. Knock on wood. But so great day for him. You mentioned Malachi Toney. Let's just talk about the wide receivers in general. What did you think of their performance? Malachi Toney and CJ Daniels both, I think, flashed pretty well.
Yeah, CJ Daniels, like you said earlier, he has a knack for making the tough acrobatic catches, and I wasn't really sure coming into the season what to expect from him, and it's very clear that he's your, go up and get it type of receiver. He can make those athletic plays, and it's great for a quarterback like Carson Beck to be able to have that wide receiver where he can just throw it up and say, go get it. And CJ Daniels is that type of player. Tony is, a freshman who plays like a junior, right? And his ability to run after the catch and his ability to run routes has been really evident early on this season. And it's clear, like I mentioned earlier, that he's in sync with Carson Beck. So they've already built a strong rapport. And that was another thing that we had questions about, with his injuries and kind of taking spring a little bit slower. Would he have a good rapport with these receivers, or how slow would this wide receiver group start out? And it seems like they haven't missed a beat.
Yeah, no, they've been great. We should mention JoJo Trader didn't play yesterday. He was dealing with what was reported as a minor injury. Hopefully, he'll be ready to go next week. Same for Jordan Lyle too, as well. Didn't play. So something to keep an eye on. We did get reports last week early from Mario directly that everyone was fine, nothing serious. So hopefully it's just precautionary. We don't necessarily get accurate injury reports. So I'd like to believe that they're fine and they'll be playing next week, but we'll see on that. The other thing, you mentioned CJ, and that first touchdown, I think it was Keelan Marion was wide open to walk into the end zone, and he threw it kind of into coverage instead, but CJ Daniels catches everything, like you said, so he caught it anyway. But that's when it'll be fun in film room, because I believe he threw to the wrong receiver on that play. It's like Keelan Marion he was running across the field and broke clear and would have caught the ball and walked into the end zone uncovered, and instead he threw it in. And they had good coverage on Daniels on that play.
Yeah. Hey, when things are going right, they go right. So
it's also there's an element of he's the primary receiver. You see, he's got a half step. You can drop it in there, and he'll catch it.
Yeah,
and I think that's what happened there, because I don't think he ever came off of him to see that Marion was wide open.
And Daniels has been absolutely great to start the season, and I just wanted to kind of give props to Mark Fletcher too. He mentioned Jordan Lyle's absence, and Fletcher quite literally carried the load for Nebraska in the Miami, excuse me, not Nebraska.
Wrong show, man. Wrong show.
I know, wrong show. Miami in the rushing department.
He was great.
He had another solid game against Notre Dame last week too. So, I mean, it's just continuing to build good habits. And, I've always been a big fan of Fletcher. He's a very physical runner, and I'm glad that he got it near the end zone in the red zone and didn't make the play calling too complicated.
Yeah, no, for sure. I liked that. And I think this is and I will say just generally, and this is going to go into the point I'm making, this team is very physical. They hit people, they push, they want to be physical too. Like, I think there's a different way in which Fletcher is running this year versus last year, where he's looking for contact. He sees the defenders, I'm going to go through you. And I think, he got a touchdown out of that. His second touchdown was just running through tackles and into the end zone, where last year he might try to juke. And I think, part of that also is the offensive line is so dominant. I think, you and I both, speaking of stuff we said last year, coming into the season, we both, talked about how we wish Dawson would run the ball more, especially in short yardage. And I think now that he trusts the offensive line to deliver in those situations, that's what he's doing. And you saw that, like you said, at the goal line, both, I'm just going to hand it off. We're going to get a touchdown. No, don't worry about it. Don't overcomplicate it. We got the offensive line, the running backs to do it, but the physicality of this team really jumps out at you and watch them play in relation even to last year. Last year they were good, not nearly as physical though. And so that's really good to see.
Yeah, and again, I wonder if last year, we kind of fell as a team into the Cam Ward trap, where we let Cam Ward make all of these incredible plays, and we kind of lost the identity of physicality. And that's not a knock on Cam Ward or to disparage Cam Ward. He was awesome. But now with Carson Beck with a more limited skill set, I think it's kind of forcing us to embrace that type of SEC football a little bit more. And
Well, that might be a negative in a the
I
SEC keeps
mean,
playing like the
yeah,
SEC is
yeah,
right
right,
now.
right. See the Gators, for example. But anyway,
Yes, yeah, so for those joining us, USF preview definitely joins tomorrow, 8:30, Six Ring Kane show.
I'm very
We'll get,
excited for that game. It's going
yeah,
to be a good one,
yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll be, it should be two ranked teams by the time we have the show tomorrow. We'll know for sure, but yeah, definitely check us out. That's where we're gonna break down USF and also do some coverage on this game a little bit follow up. But today we're focused on Bethune. And yeah, I think last year's team, like the offensive line was banged up, they weren't as good. And look, not to criticize anyone off of last year's team necessarily, but I mean like someone like Malachi Tony, we didn't have that explosiveness, and that fast twitch guy in the wide receiver room that you could really just like, hey, we can throw a 5 yard pass and he'll get it's not just the big plays either. It's the he'll turn 5 into 11 because he's so quick. And that just allows you to play. It allows you to actually play more conservative and be a little bit more solid. Whereas last year, Cameron had to do everything in the air. Like I love X. I think he's a fan. He's got like so many score records. He was amazing for us, and he would get open on anyone and find a way to get open. But he's basically like catching the ball where he is, and that's that.
Yeah.
So you have to throw to where he needs to get to more so than this is much easier to do when you can throw a 4 yard pass and you're going to get 10 because the
Yeah, that's a
receiver's
really
so
great
quick.
point. That's a really great point because again, X was amazing, and he's a fantastic receiver. But he's your classic possession receiver, right? And
Yep.
Malachi Tony, gives you that explosiveness and ability to make things happen after the catch, where you can throw a 2 yard screen pass and then just let him do his thing.
Yep, for sure. I mean, he's explosive and fun to watch. It's been a while since the Canes have had a player like they've had great players. They have receivers and they have receivers in the NFL. Like it's nothing to do with like overall just that style of
Right.
like kind of maybe undersized fat twitch guy that's hard to see, hard to keep up with, hard to cover. It's been a while, feels like forever. Maybe like Roscoe Parrish, Sonoris Moss back there, back 20 years was the last time the Canes had someone kind of like that. All right, we do have to talk a little. We're going to talk about defense and thing, but to wrap up offense here, we have to talk a little bit about. All right, so the backup quarterback performance was not great. Well, I guess what were your thoughts on Emory Williams' performance?
I don't like to trash kids or make any negative remarks about them, but I was not impressed with Emory, and quite honestly, this is kind of what I thought we might see out of. Like, I think Emory's a really good player, and when he went on the road in Tallahassee, what was it, 2 years ago?
It was 2 years ago, yeah, against
I
a really
thought,
good Florida State team. They went undefeated that season.
Yeah, and I thought he did well for that instance there, but in this situation where you're playing against Bethune-Cookman and you have the opportunity to put up some numbers, get some good reps in, he really struggled, and it makes me wonder about the depth behind Carson Beck. I know we talked about nickel and stuff like that, but I was really hoping to see a little bit of a better performance from Emory.
Yeah, and in a couple of things in his defense. One, when he comes in, like all the backups come in, so it's a pretty disjointed unit. It's not he's not throwing to CJ Daniels. He's throwing to backups. And yeah, I think he on the first drive at least he had a couple of throws that were kind of dropped. One in the end zone, I think Josh Moore couldn't hang on to. It was covered. It was very similar to CJ Daniels' first touchdown, where it's like it's covered, but he dropped the ball in there, and you kind of hope you catch it. And then on that fourth down, there was a big hit, but again, you'd like to. I think it was Luca Gilbert got hit hard, so it wasn't.
Yeah,
Those are two 50-50 balls where if the receiver makes the play, Emory's numbers look a lot better. Because one he would have had a touchdown pass and a lot more yardage, and the other one would have converted the fourth and kept the drive moving. But to your point, he doesn't look comfortable in the pocket, and I think that that's a concern when you've been here that long. He's been here a long time.
That's a very fair point. I was trying to figure out a way to say that, but he has been in the program for several seasons now, and he still doesn't look that comfortable. Maybe that will change as the season goes on, but I just hope Carson Beck stays healthy.
Yeah, Carson Beck. But I mean, this is the same. I mean, look, in this day and age in college football, especially with the portal, you're just not going to keep, 3, 4 ready to play quarterbacks
Yeah.
like they used to be able to.
Yep.
Like, you used to just, oh, yeah, we'll go in. Like, I think, God, I forget what year it was, but, one year Ohio State won the championship with their third. I think it was Cardell Jones was their third stringer.
2014, the first year of the playoff.
Yeah, the 4 team. Yeah, and I mean, he was the third stringer, and they had two like Terrell Pryor and someone else in front of him, I think, and
Braxton Miller.
Yeah, Braxton Miller. And so now, like, all of those guys would have been in the portal.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
and none of them would have been on the team because that's just the reality of it. So, Emery is stuck around. I think he's going to be the backup for now. We've talked about this before the year, and I think reinforced to me yesterday that if, God forbid, Carson Beck is down for an extended period of time, I think we'll see an open competition because they'll have to weigh Emery's has a decent amount of experience, and he's been the offense for 3 years versus maybe a little bit more high upside but rawer player. I do think, again, we talked about this earlier, the way Bethune was eating the clock. We didn't get that many possessions. And I think that probably hurt a little bit in terms of, I'm assuming they would have liked Nickel to get some reps at some point, but there just weren't that many possessions for him to actually get in there. Because I think Emery only got 3, maybe. So it was just, again, Bethune was eating the clock, running everything down to 1 second, and shortened the game considerably to basically to prevent giving up 70 points, which worked. They only lost by 42. So.
Yeah, I mean, and you do bring up a really good point. When Emery comes in, the backups come in, and it's a different offensive unit and things like that. But also, to your point, he didn't look comfortable, and that to me raised a little bit of a red flag. It wasn't even necessarily the drops and stuff like that, because those things will happen. It's the fact that he still looked uneasy, and he's been in the program for a couple seasons now, so hopefully that will change as the season goes on. Hopefully he'll get more opportunities to come in, right, when we're up, 45-0.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever,
this was the game to kind of do. I mean, the schedule is not. Like, we can all make fun of UF. I don't think we're going to empty the bench in that game. So, and then USF is obviously, they should be ranked when we play them.
Yeah.
FSU is undefeated and looking pretty good. Like, I don't see another game where you're like, okay, we're going to get a lot of backups in here. So that was pretty much it.
Yeah, so, I mean, hopefully there are more opportures for him, but as far as this goes, he still looked a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, but so I think if he has to actually play in like a competitive game situation, I think we'll see a lot of running, and maybe that'll simplify the game for him a bit. But yeah, I think that was the only thing offensively we're like, didn't look great there. But again, a couple of those balls get caught, and we're probably having an entirely different discussion about him just because the numbers would have looked a lot better. But actually, I think it was his last or next to last drive, whatever, where they kind of started bringing some pressure, where he really started to struggle, and that was, something we saw last year. So you'd like to see an improvement there. But it was also, I mean, at that point, obviously I was at the game. It was hot and muggy and disgusting, and the humidity felt like it was 150%. I think. I know these kids are coming in there and they're excited to play, but the environment in the stadium was so weird. It's like hard to.
That is a real thing.
It's hard to execute. So I'll give him some defense there. And again, I think he's the backup. He's the backup quarterback, so we shouldn't.
And I think people think that stuff doesn't matter. Oh, they should be ready to play football. It's whatever. But that stuff, especially the humidity, that can really, really get to you.
Especially you're standing around in it. You got to understand, these kids are like, they do warm ups before the game at halftime, and they stand on the sideline basically for 3 hours in pads, sweating their ass off. And I'm like, get in there, man.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no energy in this stadium. Most of the people have already left. It's like, it's not fun. Like, I mean, It is fun. It's football. It's fun. And like, I'm sure they're all excited to like get out on the field because they practice so hard and they don't necessarily get to play in games. But like, it's a weird atmosphere to play in. So I don't want to extraplate too much.
It's almost like it's almost like grinding it out type of thing. Like, you'd be just going to get through these 3 hours. What I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Also, just quick shout outs to Gerard Pringle's first touchdown as a Cane in the fourth quarter there, and also Chris Wheatley Humphrey got his first carries as a Cane, so got some of those rookies in there, and then Dalen Upshaw had a nice little fourth quarter there, had several catches. So
He did.
And we got some tight ends involved here.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, we got Luca involved. We got Brock involved.
Yeah.
We got Lofton. So.
Yeah, I think they were trying to get Lofton a touchdown. They couldn't. He slipped going in on one of them, and then they tried to throw to him down at the red zone again. He couldn't get in, but they definitely used the tight ends a little bit more this week. All right, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it was good to see Shamar Brown score a touchdown and get some carries. I think he's a sneaky option in the running back room. I know we were kind of at the beginning of the season or preseason, we were like, where would he fit? I think he's kind of found his role as that kind of closer back, and he's filled it well these first two games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is without Jordan Lyle, who's obviously really good as well. Like, this is a very deep running back room, and it's one that I think we're going to continue to see, carries distributed across three when Lyle comes back. Running backs, keep them all fresh. That big offensive line, and like you said, third and fourth quarter is when they're going to really start knocking the opponent back and just owning the line of scrimmage. So that'll be one to watch, especially next week with a better opponent. All right, the defense. So I'll give my take real quick and then hand over to you for your initial thoughts, and we'll go through some players and stuff. I thought, obviously, we talked about West getting thrown out on the third play, which was not ideal. But I thought they came out really dominant, and then after it was 21-0, I felt like the energy came out a little bit. Bethune started to have some success, started to move the ball a little bit. And, they only ended up with the 3 points. They had a couple of drives. One was the field goal drive. The other was one where they threw the interception in the end zone. But it was a little bit uneven to me. You can see how efficient they were throwing the football. Now, granted, when it's 5 yards per completion, that's not great, right? That's actually terrible for throwing. But so it was a lot of check down and throw underneath, but still very efficient. I would have liked to defend it a little bit better than that. And so, but it was obviously fine. But I mean, a little bit of all right, you got to lock in next week. I thought the intensity dropped a little bit, not from the defensive coordinator, by the way.
He's always ready to go.
In the fourth quarter, he was not, and so I think he'll probably instill, hey man, start to finish, because I think when it got 21-0, I think the energy level dropped a little bit. Which again, it's 6 days after Notre Dame. It's hot. It's everything we talked about earlier. I can see why that's just natural, but
these guys are human.
What about you? What were your thoughts on the defense?
I thought, like you said, it was a little bit uneven. I would have liked to have seen a couple more sacks. Ruben Bain had the only sack of the day, and it seemed to me like they still have trouble with those quick, kind of bubble screen passes. So I'd like to see that addressed somehow.
Yeah, and that was again. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't terrible or anything, because again, you're holding them to like 5-ish yards of completion, but you got to force some incompletions, because even on those, because that allowed them. Okay, again, it's Bethune, so normal teams would actually be trying to score instead of trying to milk the clock. But that efficiency in the passing game, where they only, I think, had 3 or 4 incompletions, that's one of the reasons they're able to milk the clock, because they're able to throw, and get 5 yards and then have the clock keep running. Where if it's incomplete, obviously the clock stops. So I'd like to see a little bit better, pass defense in that sense. Like you said, a little bit better on the bubble screens. There was also a couple of plays again where we lost contain, similar to the Notre Dame game, and then also lost coverage. Where I feel like the DBs were kind of looking in the backfield, expecting the sack to happen, and then when he broke outside, they weren't covering. I think the first big play they got was that after it was 21-0, where they kind of throw over I forget who the DB was, but throw over the top of him after he kind of had the coverage, and then quarterback escaped to his side, and he came up a little bit to kind of make the tackle instead of staying on his man. That's something that happened against Notre Dame too. So some things to clean up there.
Yeah, no, I recognized, and this made me think of the Virginia Tech game last year with the bubble screens and the lost contain. It's still something that we struggle with, and I'm not saying that the defense played bad at all, but against much better opponents, that may end up proving to be more costly than it has been, or than it was on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think the run. Well, I think if we break it down a little bit more granularly, the run defense I thought was really stout, plugged up the
Mhm.
lanes. Bethune was trying to run the ball, couldn't. So I guess we kind of took that away. Obviously, again, losing Wes against Bethune, so it's not going to impact the result. But we start. I mean, we're overanalyzing because that's what we do. We cover the game. So when you start going granular, like you can kind of see where he's missed there. But I thought the run defense was really good. I thought Lightfoot had a really good game. He's so quick. I mean, he's undersized, but he's so quick. He's
Yes.
noticeably quick, which is a huge weapon to have. It's again been a while since the Canes in like passing situations have someone they can throw out there that's just like this guy's a pass rush specialist. He'll get to the quarterback. Like he's so hard for bigger linemen to deal with. I think that's a huge weapon to have. And yeah, I really liked what he did. So I think there was a lot to like about the performance. I started kind of with some of the negative, but I think there was a lot to like about the performance in the aggression, especially early. And that's why I said like the intensity dropped because those first, look, West got ejected, but this team was hitting.
Yeah. Yep.
Again, as we were talking about the offense likes physicality, so does the defense. They were really just. I mean, Bethune was feeling it. So that's again great to see. Like we're a tough physical team, and that's what you want. You want the Canes to be, and that's a Mario Cristobal team.
And again, Mohamed Toure only had 4 tackles, but this was the second game in a row where he's had at least 4 tackles, and he plays with tremendous physicality. So it was good to see him continue that as well. And we were excited about his addition in the offseason, and he's proving to play really well so far.
Yeah, and again, like you said, 10 tackles for loss as a team is a really good number, especially not a lot of sacks. So these are actual run tackles in the backfield, which again, great. That it was a lot of. I guess there were some bust plays and some plays they gave up that they would like to have back, but by and large, it was a lot of negative plays, a lot of tackles in the backfield, a lot of disruption and physicality, which again you want to see. And we rotate so heavily, no one's going to have like a huge tackle total because like it was play a couple of plays, then go to the get the backups in there. And then also just in that same context, again with the way they were milking the clock, we didn't get as many snaps. Like I have to go look. They do publish out the number of plays run, and compared to a normal game, we must have been way under just generally. It's very rare from the first snap of the game for a team to just be like the play clock's going to 1 every time we snap it.
Yeah,
and that's what they did. So again, I think they'd like to just gotten more snaps of the defense, and we've seen a little bit more tackles and all that. So in that context, the 10 tackles for loss, even more impressive.
Yeah, for sure. And Keontae Scott had 3, I believe. So, especially as a member of the secondary, him coming down and still being able to, make an impact play and, get those tackles for a loss just shows how aggressive he is and how well he was able to read the offense yesterday.
Yeah, no, he's looking really good. And yeah, it's nice to see that I don't think there's anyone on this team that shies away from tackling. They want to hit people. Yep. They want to be physical. So that again, this is when you talk about Mario Cristobal and what his what a team that he wants to build, that he wants to in his mold. Then that this is the quintessential Mario Cristobal team with the physical. We're gonna hit you. You're gonna feel us. And yeah, I saw that in person last. It's the Notre Dame game. It's 2 physical teams. It's a battle. When you play Bethune-Cookman, you can sometimes see a little bit more things about the team's attitude and personality because it's not a big game. And this team was very physical right from the jump, and they hit people, and swarming to the ball. We saw against Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. We saw it again here. Again, everyone runs hard, everyone plays hard, and that'll win you football games when it gets to a tight moment. Those let-up plays are the ones that kill you, and this team doesn't do that.
And you mentioned that Heffernan still so intense on the sideline, and so focused and so involved in what he's doing, and you're seeing that play out on the field through his players with their intensity, their willingness to hit, and their willingness to fire off and go after the football.
Yeah, and shout out to Jazz.
Yeah,
What's up, my guy?
buddy?
Check out. Actually, Jazz did a really good short that is on the 5 reasons you. In fact, I'll be a pain in the ass to find, but I'll try to find and throw in the chat here. Make sure you check that out after the game. He did a live reaction. Really good stuff. Make sure you check that out. Co-host Jazz Santana there. And then last thing, kind of wrap up the defense. Bryce Fitzgerald first interception as a cane in the end zone there. That was one, I was critical earlier of them losing coverage when the quarterback scrambles. That was one where he stayed home and made the pick. So great play by him.
Yeah, no, he had a really good read on that. And, he is tremendously athletic, and I think he fits this defense really well. Just his ability to track the ball and his closing speed and ability to cover.
Yep. No doubt. He is a player. I guess one last thing, anything, go ahead and go back to full screen. Anything special teams wise you want to comment before we kind of wrap up here?
Special teams I thought was still really good. Bert Auburn made his only field goal of the game, and for the
it's good to see him get to kick. I mean, Look, it's the human element. He lost the job, and the coaches have to play the best players. But obviously, when he transferred from Texas, he probably expected to be the kicker. So for him to lock in and not hang his head and do that's nice.
Not a ton on punt return, but I think that was just more situational than anything. I mean, Marion had that nice kick return for 25, but overall, I thought the special teams played really well. And I know, again, we were kind of worried, or not worried, but we were wondering what the special teams would look like, as the season began. And so far, they passed the test.
Yep, they've been clean. No turnovers, no penalties. Made all the kicks. Can't really complain when that's the case.
No.
All right. Any parting thoughts here?
Well, as far as this game is concerned, Miami took care of business like they needed to. Now I am really, really looking forward to USF. I know we're going to get into it, but that's my parting thought. I'm excited for that upcoming game. And as far as this game is concerned, I'm excited that the positive trends, like the play of Tony, the physicality of Fletcher, the ability for Beck to handle the offense and things like that, things we saw last week, showed up again today. So you can tell that they're starting to, build positive habits heading into a more difficult part of the schedule.
Yeah, and my wrap up kind of coincides with yours, especially this is a fun team to watch because they're so physical. Miami fancies itself as the badasses of college football. This team plays like it. The opponent knows they're there. They're gonna feel it. They're going to get beat up, and that's what you want to see, and that's what the head coach has spent 4 years building to get to the point where he can do that consistently. So they are fun to watch.
This team, more than any of the other Mario Cristobal teams at Miami, feels like a Mario Cristobal team because of that physicality.
Yeah, absolutely. And as when DJ said we're going to break it down more on the USF, we are going to do that tomorrow at 8:30, the Sixth Rings Kane Show. Make sure you watch the full Six Rings Kane Show. Jazz, who's in the chat here, DJ, Blue, myself, we'll have all the breakdown on the huge, what should be 2 ranked teams matchup. The Canes have a big one at the Rock next week, 4:30, but will be the full breakdown. Make sure you check out the Six Rings Kane Show Monday, 8:30, every Monday, 8:30 during the season, off season. That's the flagship for our 5 Reasons Canes coverage for all of Miami sports. So make sure you check that out. We also got a Buckets on next Friday. Gal Revive will be on. So we got that,
awesome.
that going on from women's basketball. So stay tuned for that on Friday, but definitely tomorrow, big show, 8:30. All of a sudden, the USF game's a big one, so definitely
it's going to be a good one. I think
it's going to be a good one. It's a big one. It's the tougher of the next 2 games with Florida after that. So be sure to hop in and join us for that show. DJ, thanks for joining me here on this Sunday morning, and I'll see you tomorrow on Six Rings Kane.
Thank you, Vish. I had a great time doing this, and it's always good to recap. And 2-0, can't complain.
Yep. It was a great show. Enjoyed it. We'll be back next Sunday morning as well, DJ and I, to do this again. Hopefully after another
Absolutely.
dub.